So we're going to start off our first talk, and you have to excuse me, I'm going to have to, because you know me, I am doing my very best to be in a space of alignment with time. Even though I don't believe it exists, I know it's a language I must speak. I want to talk about something we all know about. Okay? Who doesn't like being in love? Who doesn't enjoy being in love? Is there anybody here who doesn't enjoy being in love with something? Okay. Well, I'd like to unlock some secrets for you tonight. Because I'm one of those amazingly fortunate of people that I'm really in love all the time. You might say, well, is that possible to be in love all the time? Is it possible to be in love with a person or with a job or with a situation all the time? And the answer is, if you make being in love about a specific thing, then the chances of not being in love at one point or another are great. I'm not a gambler with my love. I don't put all my love in one box. I don't say, oh, I'm so in love with my wife. And I like my job, and I like my children, and I like my patients. Because if I do that, and for some reason something happens with my wife that I cannot accept, which is rare anymore, but if it did, that would really challenge me being in love. So what I have been awakened to, which to me is the most logical, well-founded solution, is I'm in love with everything. Now, how do you get in love with everything? How are you in love with everything? Well, it challenges a lot about you as a being, and it brings a lot up in you that you need to release and let go if you want to be in love all the time. So, if you're not in a place where you really want to be in love all the time, where you want to love life unconditionally, well, you might either have something to learn tonight, you might be in the wrong gathering, but you're not because you're here. Or you might be just in time to make some wonderful surrenders and enter into that space. When you make a commitment to being in love with life, not a specific aspect of life, not a specific component of life, not a specific person in life, but in love with life, and you realize that at some point, the ultimate goal is to be in love with all aspects of all things, you eliminate what you all call choice. And there will be many of you that will, to some degree or another, because I've been you, I am you, that will walk out and say, there's got to be a choice. And I understand that. And I understand believing that you understand. I understand believing that you believe there has to be a choice. But there isn't. There isn't. There is if you believe you don't have to be in love with everything, to be in a space of unconditional absolute peace. If that's where you're at, then you're going to be there. That's not what the lesson is tonight. The lesson tonight is to be in love with everything all the time. You have no choice but to be in love with everything all the time. And that's the first surrender. You may say, well, yeah, but isn't surrender a choice? No. Surrender is, this is what it is, and you can make up other options, which are choice, but those are illusionary choice. You're making up those possibilities. Surrender is, this is the only sustainable space to stay in absolute peace, unconditional love, for a sustained, eternal period of time. Because if you believe you're only going to be alive for 70 years, 90 years, 100 years, you're giving yourself all kinds of illusionary choices that you don't have. When you accept that you are a part of life and in one form or another you will live forever, in one form or another, all of a sudden these illusionary choices of reaction based on your perception are no longer really valid, concrete choices. Because how many times do you think you're going to be ignorant enough to choose something that makes you suffer, believing you have a choice to do that before you finally wake up and go, I can't do that anymore? Eventually there's going to be an end that's going to come to that illusion. And you all know this is true because on your own level, all of us have gone through things in our life and believed we had choices to do something or not do something. And how many of us believe we have the same, we'll just indulge in the illusion of choice. How many of us believe we have the same choices we had when we were 5 years old? I don't see a whole lot of hands, okay? Or when we were 10, or 20, 30, for those of us who are going up still. I'm in the group. 40, 50, okay? You get my point? As you become more conscious, the illusion of these choices you were making becomes just that. Now we may justify that, well, I got married, or I got older, or I had kids, or I got a job, or whatever. That is such a minimization of the extensive process of consciousness that we're experiencing. Please, don't believe in the illusion of doing that. It is the natural evolution of consciousness within your own being that awakens you to the truth that then made those choices illusion. Now, pause. We are recording these. I want you to be in a visit with me here. We're recording them. We're not, there's some stuff for sale downstairs, but these aren't for sale. These are going to be posted. They're going to be available. I don't want you to try and get it all with me now. I just want you to be with me. We'll make these things available for you so you can listen to them again and again and again. Because I know how much comes through me when I'm wide open, and it's just like, wow. So just don't try and remember it. Just be with me. It'll be available to you. It'll be available to you, okay? So I'm starting to see some eyes kind of dilating on me, so I just bring that process back. Okay, so we talked about the inevitable expansion of consciousness and the fact that as consciousness expands, the illusion of choice is reduced. And when you get to a certain level of consciousness, choice no longer exists. And in that absence of choice, you are forced, whether you would like it or not, and I'm not going to get into this one completely tonight, but I'll set the stage for it, because there really is no free will at this point. There's no choice, there's no free will. Can't have one without the other. They're both kind of built on that whole, imaginary world of denial and ignorance. When those slip away, there is just what is happening in the moment. By the time you are perceiving it, it is already happening. How can you have a choice over what's already happening when it's already happening? That's what I want you to understand. When I speak to you about these things, I didn't get to these conclusions by them making sense at first. I got to them by really opening up and letting go of my inherent intelligence that was telling me things that were against these truths, until I went at these truths every possible way I could and went, man, they stand up. I can't argue that truth. If you want to be in the future and try and prophesize what's going to happen and make illusionary choices on an illusionary reality that hasn't happened yet, well, I don't even need to talk about that. How many things have you planned for happening, made choices about what you were going to do if they happened, and they never even happened? So I can't even speak to that, because that's not the truth. The truth is now. So as we experience things in the moment, there really is no choice. It is from that space that I surrendered into. If I'm going to be involved in the field of life, and I'm going to be constantly, not for however many years I'm on this planet, but eternally in one form or another, experiencing life, which is always going to happen the same way. Life isn't going to stop happening like that. That's life. What is the most intuitive, peaceful, common sense way to be with it? Well, in a space of unconditional love and acceptance. Which means, fall in love, baby.
Yes.
Fall in love with it. You don't need to understand it. You can't comprehend it. So you might as well just start falling in love. And accept the fact that it has something to not only teach you, but it has something to heal in you. That life is not the causer or the causation of your ills. Your inappropriate relationship with life and your ignorance that stops you from embracing it completely and unconditionally stops it from healing what ails you. If you see someone as a thief, how willing are you to offer them your money? When you see someone as a beggar, you're more apt to give. You have all, on some level, seen life as a thief that has stolen from you, that has taken something from you that you once had until this happened, or that happened, or this happened. When you embrace what I'm teaching you tonight, you are then present with every moment of life saying, thank you. Thank you. You're in an appropriate, unconditionally loving, eternal marriage with life. And in that marriage, you then look at people and you say, you cannot say that this woman, Sherry, is not life. She is life, is she not? There is no choice. I love her. Do I understand her? No. Do I know everything about her eternal journey? No. But isn't that the same feelings that not even feelings, isn't that the same level of wisdom I have about life? Yet, did I need to understand everything about life to love life? No, it was a choiceless surrender, was it not? Yes. So, when someone is in, call it my life, it is simply another choiceless surrender that I love them. For the same reasons that I love life, because they are one and the same. We are not people first. We are life. We are life. And life in one form or another is universal. So you ready for the reflection? When you can love others in this way, when you can love other forms of life in this way, no matter what space they're in, you then open yourself up to loving yourself in that same way, no matter what form you are in. If I love a sister who is angry at me, and I love that life, even though it's angry at me, or angry, period, then if I am, for some reason, unable to be in that unconditional love, space of love and acceptance and peace, and I am that angry brother in that moment, I can then love myself unconditionally in that moment of disharmony as well. Why? Because I have practiced. I have practiced. the illusion that you all see is that I am 41 years old. Who is this speaking? If you think it's a 41-year-old, you're making a choice. I am open to speak to you in this level of truth because I practice. I don't practice speaking. I practice what I teach you. I practice moment after moment after moment after moment after moment of what I teach you. Unconditional love, acceptance, and peace. Compassion for those who are not in the space that I am in. Again, 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 again. How many of you are willing to believe that you do not have a choice but to practice that every minute of the rest of eternity? If you are ready to believe you do not have that choice and surrender that choice, then you are truly ready to enter into a space of enlightenment. For I do not have that choice any longer. And for that reason, my life is a wonderful, beautiful, monotonous practice of those same things I've told you. Again and again and again. And for those of you who know me and have the perception of all that I have been blessed with at this, what would be seen as early age in life, it is all due to either myself or others practicing that practice. It is simply that. To believe it has come from any other space is to believe it has come from something other than the source of life. And to believe it has come from something other than the source of life is to believe that it has come from something I have created. And to believe it has come from something that I have created means I must sustain it. I do not believe in that choice. If it is in my life, it is in my life because it is God, creator of life energy, creator of life. It is God's will for it to be there, and if it is not, it is not. That way I know what is in my life is being sustained by that practice. And what isn't was unsustainable based on that practice. I am completely at peace with whatever is or isn't based on that practice. That is choiceless surrender of attachment. We are sitting in this building now. 3 months from now, we may not be. But it sure is pleasant now, isn't it? Let's just enjoy it now. This absence of surrender or presence of choice allows all of you to ruminate in your thoughts, in your own wants, and your own desires, and your own concerns, which, although they may seem real and relevant, will all be taken care of beautifully by the practice. Does this mean that you don't go to work? Of course not. You see me. I'm a fully functional human being. I exercise. I work. I spend time with my family. I have bills to pay. I don't make any excuses for that. But how I go about that journey is through the practice. When I am encountered with what perceptually would be an obstacle. I don't approach that obstacle as something trying to take from me, something trying to hurt me, something trying to, make my life difficult. I embrace that. I love it. I learn from it. I let it bring me to a higher space of consciousness, which it does effortlessly through the surrender, and it passes. And what is left in my life after it passes is what is meant to be left in my life after it passes, and what it brings me as it passes is what I'm meant to be brought. It's so simple once you don't have a choice. I want to leave you with just this question. If you wish to hold on to your belief in choice versus surrender, which I honor, held on to mine for a long time, where does it end? Where's the peace? I don't understand how there can really, truly be eternal, everlasting peace when there's choice. Someone's got a ringer. It's a ringer. You can comprehend that, can't you? You can't argue that. Well, I'll do this, but then that happens. Well, I'll do that. Well, then that happens. You're always playing a game, risking your peace and your relationship with life, which is really all you have. And that's all you're going to have forever. On whether it goes this way or this way. And this is why I really don't indulge, nor do I see a higher purpose for myself in this space of my spiritual journey, to indulge in manifestation. I don't want anything to be that isn't meant to be. I only want it to be if it's meant to be. That way, I just focus on my balance point. Focus on my balance point. How do I do that? Through the what? Through the practice. Remember that monotonous moment by moment thing we talked about? That's all I can handle. It's all I want. It's all I want to be involved in is that practice. And that's what I focus on. And then whatever happens, I focus on the practice. I don't want something to be that isn't meant to be, because then again we get into that whole thing of then I'm creator, then I'm God. I'm not God in human form. I'm not a wonderful creation of God. I'm God, and I'm deciding what's going to happen and what's... believe me, I lived in that space, and I kept a lot of things alive. And I'm sure all of you have been in that space. And kept a lot of marriages alive, kept a lot of jobs alive, kept a lot of friendships alive. At what cost? Surrender and be open enough to surrender into the space and just let life show you what's going to stay, what isn't going to stay, and work on a level of acceptance with whatever it is.